Ananta Gauti Vaishnava ki jai, Namacharya Shimhaya Sankar ki jai, Shri Rupa Shri Sanatan Vata Ranga, Shri Jiva Gopala Vata Dasaragana, Sadhu Swami Prabhupada ki jai, Principal Shri Krishna, Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Radha, Srivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Bhakta Bhavana Shamanam Radhikam Giriyoran ki jai, Ramamari, Jamunamari ki jai, Bhakti Devi, Tamsi Devi ki jai, Shri Rihadanga Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Gita Gaur Prima ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Govinda. Shanti Shri Guru. The lotus feet of our spiritual masters are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. And our practice lotus feet with great love and reverence. By his grace one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. I only wish to have my consciousness purified by the word and painting on this lotus mount. Attachment to his lotus feet is perfection and fulfills all desires. He opens my heart and eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth, from ecstatic preparations I aim with dreams to strong. The Vedic scriptures in his character. Our spiritual master is years of mercy, the friend of all Lord masters of devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Make your face steadfast as your words. We take shelter at your lotus feet. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad. Our dear Lordship, Shri Shri Govindaya, my Adhoksaja, please let us pray for your mercy, so that the Scottish Church may flourish in numbers of happy devotees, in the blessings of Srimad, and especially in the love of you. Shri Shri Govindaya, my Adhoksaja ki jai. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Hari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanandana Yashodanandana Vrajajanandana Yamunatiravarachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Jaya Gopi Janagala Yashodanandana Vrajajanandana Yashodanandana Vrajajanandana Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna,
Reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, this is volume 6. This is Prabhupada's letter. With regard to Mayapur house, I may suggest you make one roof garden. On the top of the house you can put soil of 6 inches and then plant so many tulsi plants and nice bushes. I like the garden very much, just like here in Los Angeles. They have made one very nice garden for me, and I sit there every morning. So you please also make a first-class Mayapur garden. At about 10 in the evening, Srila Prabhupada would usually go into his bedroom and lie down. His servant, Shrutikirti, would massage his legs, and Prabhupada would then close his eyes. Meanwhile, Rameshwar would be waiting at the bottom of the stairs, hoping that the secretary or servant would come down with a message from Prabhupada. Rameshwar. I was too afraid to go to Srila Prabhupada's room, so I would be waiting at the bottom of the stairs, just hanging there, just waiting for one word. Srila Prabhupada would often say something and it would be passed to me. Then, every morning, the second devotees would just surround me and ask, what did he say? They would be begging for some nectar. It was an intense experience. We felt that we were all having a special, direct connection with Prabhupada. While waiting outside Prabhupada's door, I would be in transcendental bliss, just thinking how we were distributing books as an offering of pure love for our spiritual master. This was the first time that devotees were going to the airports. No one else in the movement was going to an airport except the devotees in Los Angeles. So it was something very special. No one was doing big books in the quantity that we were. At one point when Srila Prabhupada saw one of my daily Sankirtan reports, he commented, "Who is Rameshwar?" Day after day, Srila Prabhupada was seeing these ecstatic reports sprinkled with nectarian quotes from his Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela chapter that had just been published. He realized that these disciples were in ecstasy. And so he asked, who are they? He could see we loved Sankirtan. It was not an artificial burden or that we were struggling. We could see that there didn't seem to be any struggle. It was like fun. It was like fun, bliss, ecstasy, and the whole philosophy was there. We were completely tuning into the Chaitanya Charitamrita philosophy that Lord Chaitanya descends with his confidential associates to spread the love of God, but doesn't discriminate who is a fit candidate and who is not. These were the verses we were putting into the daily letter. This was our mood, and Prabhupada loved it. From Shrutikirti's point of view, the evening massage was a very special time because Srila Prabhupada seemed free of the pressure of the day's management. Shrutikirti would bring several night-blooming jasmine flowers from the garden, and Prabhupada would place the fragrant blossoms near his nose during the massage. He would be even quieter and more relaxed than during the Krishna book reading. There was no business to attend to. He had done a hard day's work. Although he would be rising after only 3 hours rest, he now lay back and wrapped in thought or chanting softly. Some evenings, Srila Prabhupada would delay the massage and slowly walk back and forth in his bedroom chanting on his beads, or he would sit on his bed and chant. But on most nights he would lie on his back while Shrutikirti massaged his legs. If he conversed with the servant at all, it wouldn't be about ISKCON management. He might look at a picture on the wall and say, how beautiful Krishna is. How could they not be attracted to Krishna? Or sometimes he would talk about his childhood and other informal topics. But even at this relaxed time, he relished hearing the Sankirtan results. And so he would sometimes read Rameshwar's daily report or simply say something about preaching Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 3, Rishabhadev's appearance, text 12. So I'll just read the verse. Ata kanchit skalena shitpatana jimbana duravasta nadisham vishvanam na smaranaya dvara marana dasayam api sakala kasmala nirasanami tava guna krita namadayani vachana kocharani bhavantu. So if everyone can respond, please. Ata, still. Katanchit, somehow or other. Skalana, stumbling. Shut, hunger. Patana, falling down. Junvana, yawning. Duravastana, because of being placed in an undesirable position. Adishu, and so on. Vishvanam, unable. Na, of ourselves. Smaranaya, to remember. Dvaramarana, in the case of having a high fever at the time of death. Api, also. Sakala, or Kashmala, sins. Nirasanani, which can dispel. Tava, your. Guna, attributes. Krita, activities. Namadayani, names. Vajna Gocharani, possible to be uttered. Bhavantu, let them become. Translation. Dear Lord, we may not be able to remember your name, form, and qualities due to stumbling, hunger, falling down, yawning, or being in a miserable, diseased condition at the time of death when there is a high fever. We therefore pray unto you, O Lord, for you are very affectionate to your devotees. Please help us remember you and utter your holy names, attributes, and activities which can dispel all the reactions of our sinful lives. Responsibly, please. Dear Lord, we may not be able to remember your name, form, and qualities due to stumbling, hunger, falling down, yawning, or being in a miserable, diseased condition at the time of death when there is a high fever. We therefore pray unto you, O Lord, for you are very affectionate to your devotees. Please help us remember you and utter your holy names, attributes, and activities which can dispel all the reactions of our sinful lives. Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The real success of life is Anti-Narayana Smriti, remembering the holy name, attributes, activities, and form of the Lord at the time of death. Although we may be engaged in the Lord's devotional service in the temple, the Torah conditions are so tough and inevitable that we may forget the Lord at the time of death due to a diseased condition or mental derangement. Therefore, we should pray to the Lord to be able to remember his lotus feet without fail at the time of death, when we are in such a precarious condition. In this regard, one may also see Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 2, text 9 to 10, and text 14 to 15. Om Jnana Timiranda Shagananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaurabhaktarinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Vanchikapatrubhischa Kripasindhubhyevacha Paditanam Bhavanidyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So this is a famous verse I recognize. Dear Lord, we may not be able to remember your name, form, qualities due to stumbling, hunger, falling down, yawning, or being in a miserable, diseased condition at the time of death when there is a high fever. So Bhagavatam is showing us how to pray, which is an important lesson to learn. We know we have to pray, we know we have to chant, we know we have to remember the Lord. So we know these things, and we could just do them in a very process-orientated way. Oh, I'm remembering the Lord. Oh, I'm chanting. Now I'm saying a prayer. But the Bhagavatam is helping us to go a little bit more deeper into it, and to understand what it is we should be praying for. So the Lord suddenly appeared out of the flames. Any benediction they ask for, that the Lord can fulfill. He has unlimited power to do anything. Whatever is asked, he can do. And what a wonderful prayer to ask for, of all the things you could ask for. Please allow me to remember you at the time of death. So that's a very beautiful prayer. Please help us remember you and utter your holy names, attributes and activities. So if we can leave our bodies uttering the holy names, then our destination will be very auspicious. And Prabhupada says in the purport, he's saying, the real success in life is anti-narayana smriti, remembering the holy name. It's hard sometimes to quantify how successful we are as a movement. We could say, well, 1,000 people joined in this year, and 100 of them are only left 20 years later. But that's the way we will know how successful the movement is by how many who come in contact with Krishna consciousness remember the Lord at the time of death. So that's a hard one to quantify, unless you've got some system where you can have cameras on everyone, so that even when they leave, you can keep an eye on them, and then see who's remembering the Lord at the time of death. The ones who are remembering the Lord at the time of death, they're the ones who are successful. There's the real success. So obviously, you stand more chance if you stay in the association of devotees and you perform devotional service daily. And ultimately, it's up to the Lord whether He will allow you to remember Him or not. At that time, especially, it will be very difficult, and there'll be a lot of distraction from the body, and the life affairs become very disturbed. So to be able to remember the Lord will be difficult. So we're training now so that we can do that, so that we can pass that final test. And if it seems a little difficult now, then that's good, because better it's difficult now than difficult later. Let's get all the difficulty out of the way here and now, rather than have a very easy life, and then at the end it becomes very difficult. Although Radhanath Maharaj was making a really nice point, which is interesting. He was talking about Putana, because Putana wasn't such a nice person, actually. She was especially fond of the blood from babies, and Kamsa had sent her out, and so the program was kill the babies, all the babies that had been born at that time. And so she was taking care of a lot of that. And so when she approached Krishna, you can imagine she had a lot of karma. And Krishna purified her, and all that suffering and difficulty that we normally undergo over a lifetime performing devotional service, she had it all crammed into just a few moments of intense discomfort. And then her body was purified, and she expanded through the forest as she died, and then her body smelled like a guru would as it was being burned, because she'd been purified by the touch of Krishna. So Krishna is very kind to us. He's gently breaking down our attachments, our false ego, just a little bit every day, gently, rather than all in one go. But if you want to go the demon way of doing it is that it all happens in one big go. So they're praying to the Lord you are very affectionate to your devotees. Please help us remember you and utter your holy names. So the Lord is very affectionate to his devotees. And we're trying to share that. Like Vaisheshika was making some very nice points yesterday. One of the ones he was making is, we're trying to share the highest gift. We've been given the most valuable thing, and all we have to do now is go out and share it with as many people as possible. So that's a really nice job. It's a lot nicer than the job I had before. I was a devotee. Nicest job you could possibly have, actually, to do, to share that. And he was saying, really what it is we're learning to chant Hare Krishna, and then we're learning to share that with others. So we learn to chant Hare Krishna nicely, and then we go out and we share with others. Any questions or comments? It's quite a short purport, really, and it's quite straightforward. I mean, it reminds me, a very funny thing happened to me in Vrindavan. The devotee that was Pundarik, his name was, he was taking us on the parikrama, and he suddenly shouted, "Everyone stop, stop, no, don't go any further, everyone stop, don't go past this line." And everybody stopped. He said, "Right, everyone get yourself together, because once we step over this section, anything you're thinking of, it gets fulfilled." And so I was really, my feet were sore, I was really, really thirsty, and I wasn't really focused. I was trying to think of something nice to think of, and I couldn't think of anything other than a bottle of water. I was thinking, just give me a bottle of water, that's all I want, I'll be happy. So we walked through the section, and straight after it, somebody came up to me with a bottle of water, and I was kind of asked for anything, you know. So I thought that was nice that everyone had to stop and collect their thoughts. So this is the type of prayer, you know, if we can remember these types of prayers, and then when the opportunity comes and we can, of all the things we can ask Krishna, this is the nicest thing to ask. Please let me remember you at the time of death. Let me utter your holy names at the time of death. So it's very simple. Krishna consciousness is very simple, and it's very easy, and it's also very complicated, and it's also very hard. So could anybody explain to me why that is? Why is it so complicated and so hard, and yet so easy and so simple as well at the same time?
Depends how heavy our conditioning is.
How heavy your conditioning is? Yeah. I mean, you'll come across statements which are very daunting, and then you'll come across statements which make it seem so easy. You just have to step over the water contained in the calf's hoofprint. You think, oh, this is really, really easy. You just have to say, Hare Krishna, and you've rid yourself of more sins than you can commit in all the lifetimes you've had in the material world. So it seems very, very easy, and then it can seem very, very almost Daiveshi Gunamai Mamaya Taratya means very difficult. It can seem very, very difficult.
Just if one prays from the core of one's heart and through whatever one's reactions, then one's eligible. One has the liberation as the rightful claim.
Yeah, Tatedukam Pamashishamana.
Yeah, Prabhupada says it's simple for the simple and complicated for the crooked. And he also said that I think this process is simple, I didn't say it was easy.
To shed a bit of light on the question also, I was going to set the example of Bhakti Bill, who's my dad, and he was told you only have to say Hare Krishna once, and you'll go back to Godhead, Bill. So he had his Bhakti trousers on, he went out and hurried on with us, and he was chanting 16 rounds a day. And then someone told Bhakti Bill, do you know you can be chanting for millions of lifetimes, and if you're not doing it properly, you're wasting your time, something like that. Anyway, so Beadbag went down, and Bhakti Bill became Sir Bill instead. So how you take the philosophy, how you apply the philosophy, how you, if you see practicing Krishna consciousness as easy, and you can help others also to see that it's easy, then you're basically, you're fit to be a guru, because that's what the guru is doing. He's trying to show us it's very easy. And like yesterday, I was watching Vaishya Shikhavan pass the book out for over half a year, and I just felt like putting my book back on and just running out, going out with maybe a helium balloon over my head or something. But he just reminded me of when I initially started doing Sankirtan, how I was attracted to what I could see the Sankirtan devotees were experiencing. They used to come back from Sankirtan at Chaitanya College and have a kirtan. And they were so fired up in this kirtan, I was thinking, whatever it is they've just been doing, I want to try that myself because I want to experience what they're experiencing in the kirtan. They were very enlivened, you know. And so it was attractive. And I felt that again. Also, when Vaisheshika came out with us in Buchanan Street, and he was showing us how to do it. He was going up to people and saying, California, where you from? Which I thought was really nice. I really liked that. So I was trying it as well. I was, there's my ego, where you from? It was never quite the same, in fact. But it was really nice. So it's like he's showing us that it's not difficult. We're only thinking it's difficult because that's Maya's trick, is to make it seem difficult and impossible so that we give up. And Krishna's trying to show us, no, it's really easy. If you just do this, I'll help you like anything. Please you just do this and I'll take care of everything else. You just need to comply. And if you do that, then it's so easy. And Lord Chaitanya especially, he doesn't want to make it difficult. He wants to show us it's actually easy. So that's what we should be sharing with other people, that don't think it's difficult. If you're thinking it's difficult, then you're in some kind of an illusion. And if you're complicated and crooked, then don't be complicated and don't be crooked. It's not doing you any good. It's not helpful to be complicated and crooked. You're not happy, are you? Anyone know anyone who's complicated and crooked who's happy? In fact, Kuja was crooked, wasn't she? And then Krishna stood on her toes and straightened her. So Krishna consciousness is the way to simplify crooked people.
I think also it's complicated because I said it's so simple you can miss it. So sometimes we're looking for something else beyond what is being offered, not realizing that whatever we're looking for will be within what's being given already.
Yeah. Everyone get that? Everyone hear that one? That it's because we're complicated, we can't see the forest for the trees. So then again, it's the advanced devotee helps us to see things properly, to focus on and look at things in the right way, take things in the right way. So your attitude is like your lens that you're looking at everything through. So the lens has to be correct. The paradigm of what Krishna consciousness is has to be correct. And we get that by the association of the devotees, actually. Because the devotees are showing us that it's not just easy, it's actually blissful. It's more than just being easy. It's actually the nectar from which we're always anxious. That's actually what we're looking for. And so sometimes we don't realize we're looking for it. We don't realize we think we're looking for relief from misery, and we're looking for sense gratification. But we're not. We're actually looking for Krishna. We're actually looking for a loving relationship with Krishna. So that's what makes it complicated, because we have a misconception of what it is and who Krishna is as well. And unfortunately, Krishna's been very misrepresented as an ogre, as a nasty person that holds grudges, who doesn't really love us, who's quite happy to carry on in eternity without us if we don't comply and not be bothered at all. That's not Krishna.
I was listening to lecture by Tamar Krishna, and she says everybody is empowered. It's just some people are conscious of it and some aren't. And I was thinking with the simple approach, can it be that putting away in the pure AKH and it's simple, whereas many branched, distractions, that its path is crooked because
Yeah.
you want to.
Yeah. We have a misconception that intelligence means to make things more complicated. But intelligence is there to simplify things, to clarify things, actually. That's what intelligence is meant to be for. So we have an educational system which is actually misdirecting people. People are taking pride in being very convoluted and very intricate. And Krishna is saying, besides these qualities, humility, pridelessness, perception of the evil of birth and death, besides these, whatever they may be, is ignorance. Even if you know a lot of stuff, you know a lot of equations, and you can make nuclear bombs, and you know how to take an engine apart and put it back together again. This is ignorance. It's ignoring Krishna to one degree or another. And the intelligence is how can I understand the illusion that I'm in, and how can I get free from this illusion? And it's if you're in a room which is dark and it's very complicated trying to get from one end to the other, and if someone switches the light on, then getting from one side of the room to the other is very easy. And Krishna's jnana teshameva kampatam, to show them special mercy, I dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So the problem with all this so-called knowledge, which is actually ignorance, is that it puts them against in even more darkness. And the more darkness, then the more fear is automatically there. So the opposite of fear, one way of looking at fear, is the absence of love. So the more love that's there, the more compassion that's there, then immediately that will dispel the darkness. And in the darkness, there are so many negative qualities: hatred, anger, fear, resentment. All these nasty qualities are all lurking around in the darkness. And then when we shine the light, jnana dipena bhasvata, when that shining light shines in the heart, then all the darkness goes away. And we see the solution is just to show love and compassion to ourselves, to others. And then what seemed like a very complicated problem is it's much easier then to deal with, you see. Just preaching to myself. So,
also, it's difficult when we're not pure devotee. That going through the process of anartha and vritti, etc., then it feels like it's very difficult then, because Prabhupada was quoted in there's that book, What is the Difficulty? So for someone like Srila Prabhupada, who's totally surrendered, totally empowered and connected with the Lord, then there's no difficulty. But for us, there's difficulty because you're kind of carrying baggage with us. Just like if you go to swim across the river might not be that much of a problem to swim over, but if you've got loads of bags with you, and loads of weights on you, then it's going to be very difficult.
yeah, anartha and vritti is the stage where we're trying to get free from what is causing the difficulties. And Sri Brahma says in the book, Shuddhavati Chintamani, it can seem more like a daunting battle than a dip in the ocean of nectar when you're practicing Krishna consciousness. But he said also, Krishna will give the halo of perfection from time to time. Sometimes bhav will seep through, even though we're in the lower stages. Krishna will do that to encourage us to continue on. It's compared in the Bhagavatam to a man walking in the forest in the dead of night, and then a bolt of lightning goes across the heavens, and for a split second, he can see everything really, really clearly, where he needs to go, what he needs to avoid, and then he's back in darkness again. And he's kind of wandering along, remembering that epiphany that he's just had until the next one. So we're very dependent. Prabhupada said he wanted to see his disciples come to the second class platform, which is Nishna, Majjhima Adhikari, as soon as possible. So Majjhima Adhikari is maybe not in the direct sunlight, but at least he can start to see now, he can start to discriminate who the devotee is, who the non-devotee is, who the demoniac is. He starts to see how Krishna's helping him. So at least if we can get to that stage, then it starts to become a lot easier. So yeah, we want to get out of the dense darkness. of the Kanishta Adhikari as quickly as possible actually. And Kanishta Adhikari, they have a tendency, because they're neophyte, then they tend to fight. Neophytes fight. And the fighting doesn't help anybody, and it just makes it more difficult for them, compounds the problem, unfortunately. So we're trying to navigate through with this little negative interaction with anybody else. And then as soon as we can get to the initiative platform, then usually we're trying to help other people also navigate them through so they can get to that stage, so that it's become easier for them. And the quicker we can do it, the better, obviously, otherwise we prolong the agony. Shishi Kodvitai Maya Pashashi Ki Jai, Shri Tasinath Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Giridhari Lal Ki Jai, Shri Nrsimhadev Bhagavan Ki Jai. I was very, very pleased yesterday that Vaisheshika Prabhu remembered our deities, and he made the point that they were in San Francisco because the book distribution was so, and because our book distribution at the time was so good, so they came here. You know, I was thinking, we better make sure we start passing out more books where they may go. But that was really nice that he remembered. And he remembered us as well. So that was, let's do that more often, it was so nice.
It was actually quite a surprise for him, because when he was coming to Scotland, I heard that he'd been at that temple, and I heard that he had some connection with those deities, but I didn't tell him. And I thought just leave it for him. So when he arrived at the base and he got up and he looked at the deities, I said to him, "Do you see anyone you recognise?" I actually worship those deities.
Wow.
And so he was really ecstatic to see him.
Maybe there's a chance we'll get it back again then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really nice.
So this verse, part of this verse is like about remembering Krishna.
Yeah.
Throughout the difficulties which we experience at the time of death.
Yeah.
Sometimes the devotees find it difficult to remember Krishna or take short of Krishna even in small challenges throughout our life.
Yeah.
But somehow or other we're thinking or hoping that we're going to remember him at the time of death. So how can we try to remember Krishna and take shelter in Krishna so there's a practice for that time? It is going to be extremely difficult.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, we want to try and make Krishna consciousness as nice as we can for people to come and make it as attractive as possible. But somewhere along the line, no matter how nice you try and make it look, you have to actually get to the point of people realizing that to do it, you're going to have to be quite determined. So we try and break that to them gently, isn't it, over a period of time, and then maybe not proud. Like Srila Prabhupada didn't tell them initially. Once they'd committed, that he said, well, by the way, it isn't quite that easy, but you'll be okay. So, and sometimes that's the difficulty, is that you may have a misconception of Krishna consciousness being easier, thinking it's going to be easier than it is, or being attached to doing it in an easy way, which actually makes it more difficult.
I also was considering about easy and difficult, or easy and complicated, and I was thinking, okay, to walk down the hill and to walk up the hill is quite easy for us, but for example, to play karnatas or harmonium or the dana can be very complicated and very difficult, and it takes a lot of time and practice to get advanced. And I was thinking, okay, it's always like this. Things in life are easy and difficult, it depends. No? And also Krishna consciousness is sometimes very difficult, sometimes very easy, and somehow we have to face both of them. I would say we cannot just say, oh, it's too difficult, I don't know what to do, or we cannot say it's so easy, I can do everything. It's not really true.
It's called, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur calls it Utsamai. There's 6 different forms of unsteady devotional service. So one is Utsamai, which is false confidence. And so the devotee comes and he's been practicing Krishna consciousness for 3.5 hours, and he thinks, why don't people just get it together? I mean, it's so obvious. You just eat a plate full of Haribo, you jump up and down and say Haribo, and everything's fine. You know, what's the problem? So he thinks he's mastered. He has the audacity to think he's mastered the practice of Krishna consciousness. So Utsamaya is a false confidence, and he thinks, yeah, it's really easy. I don't know what the problem is, you know. So it is. It is at times difficult to practice Krishna consciousness, sometimes easy. That's why also Rupa Goswami says you have to be patient. Because when it is difficult, if you're patient, you know in due course of time, you'll come through it, and then things will be easier again. So sometimes you have to just be a little patient and just persevere with the process. It may also be that you have made some offense, and the king has his entourage, and like somebody said something really silly to Srila Prabhupada, and then Srila Prabhupada said something very, very heavy to this devotee. And the devotee just was rooted in the spot. He was so shocked. And the other devotees were just walking with Srila Prabhupada, and then when the back of the devotees, this devotee just tagged along at the back. So it'll take him a little while now to be reinstated in Srila Prabhupada's good graces. He'll have to do some nice things, and then maybe Srila Prabhupada will smile at him again, and then maybe give him some nice, maybe give him some prasadam or something, and then he knows it's okay again. And it's the same when we're chanting. We're chanting, and sometimes we'll maybe find it very difficult to chant. We don't know why. Maybe we're not conscious of why it is, but we know that whatever it is, we've just got to persevere now until again the holy name comes very close to us, and again it's very enlivening for us. So sometimes we have to just persevere for a few days, and then we're back up again. And then be careful when we're back up that we don't do something that takes us back down again, you know.
Interesting that term tonight. I was speaking with one young devotee recently, and sometimes they speak as if you know all, but you actually don't have any experience of what you're talking about, and you're trying to, you don't want to put them down or